recording. No expectations. We're going in with no expectations. We're going in haphazard. And really the idea is, hopefully we can start to bring you guys this once every couple of weeks, once every 2 weeks. We'll figure that out. But yeah, we're just catching up. It's also been so long. I mean, we touch base on stuff like this, but it's also been a while just since we kind of caught up since really the filming,
Yeah.
And so things have kind of changed a lot.
Yeah, like
so,
when you came, I was like, yeah, sometime soon I'm gonna have to be thinking about moving out. But I don't know if my mom had officially there's a real.
It was literally the first day that I was there was the day that she went on that date with that guy. No way. Yeah, I had came back and you were like, my mom's on a date right now or something. I was like, oh, no way. And you were like, I don't know how I feel about it. I was like, but you were.
Well, yeah, I was just hoping he was a nice guy. He's very awesome. That's the only thing I was worried about. But it's been great. Obviously, she likes him a lot. She's selling this house, moving down there. He's buying a new house that they're both gonna just be retired people in. It's gonna be so cool.
Yeah,
she's super excited about that. So yeah, and that's so there's a realtor coming on Wednesday. So there is I think it's probably by June it'll be sold because it's a cool spot. People like it up here.
You've been kind of like Jack. I think I commented on one of your things. You're like Jack Nicholson, the Overlook Hotel, for the last 5 months, just snowed in. It's crazy.
No play.
Yeah, I know. We need to get you out of the boonies, out of the snow.
Yeah, that would be. I'm just someday. I don't quite see how to get out of the snow anytime soon.
Yeah,
work my way there. Troy will be better because there's this music venue called No Fun Troy where my friend Shane he owns it now with this cool group of guys, and they just have really awesome punk and noise music.
Is there more of a scene down there? Because when we were filming the doc, I don't know, Saratoga was kind of a strange joint.
Saratoga sucks.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's horrible.
When I went to the bar,
Saratoga's the worst place. Yeah, I'm happy I live in the boonies compared. I wouldn't want to live in Saratoga.
Yeah.
At all. It's, the skate park's there. But yeah, it's not a place. There's no scene. There's nothing cool happening in Saratoga, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But this guy Shane, he's in Troy, but he'll do a show on Mondays at the one dive bar left in the one scummy place left in Saratoga that hasn't the one place that's just not purely purified in every way. It's called Desperate Annie's. It's a just total dive bar. But they'll play they'll have a punk show there on Monday nights. I don't really go to it just because I don't like hanging out in Saratoga. It's just yeah. But Troy is different, way different.
Yeah, it was funny, kind of also just traveling up to see you up there because I'm from the South and driving in the South is totally different from driving upstate.
I've noticed that.
The way everything is organized from the gas stations to even one thing that drove me nuts though about upstate is when you go to pump your gas they don't have the mechanism that holds the gas. You have to hold it yourself. Yeah, what happened to that? So I'm coming back from filming with you and I'm freezing and I'm having to stand out there and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Here. Exactly.
I don't know why they took that away. It's in the South they have it where your hands don't freeze off.
It's are we not? We're adults. Are we not responsible enough to just
I think it is something about not being responsible enough. I think they probably had overflows or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that drove me nuts.
I've actually forgotten about that, and you reminded me because we did. I remember those going away and being why don't we Ah.
Yeah, I posted a whole rant on my story because I got so irritated by the end of my time in New York. I was like,
I
why the
wonder if,
fuck
like,
is this not
the-
on
the-
there?
The tax cut or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's been a while. You know, how is, you know, I know we've talked, and the idea kind of now is like, let's like get you to branch out and like have different areas. Because does it get tiring doing like the critiques, or does it get, you know, exhausting in that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't know if it's exhausting or tiring. I like to do different things for sure, and yeah, I've kind of been the dungeon, or like my whole Instagram thing was like a way of like, how do I do things on this isolated from anything that I'm into, and so like I have found like a way to like connect with like the world in a much, you know, in a way through, even though I'm here, but yeah, like I'm still restless, like it is still like a thing I do, you know, critiquing, and yeah, like this podcast is great, you know, I just haven't really had anybody in my life that does podcasts. I mean, my friend, three of my friends have a podcast together on books, called Spine Crackers. That's like really awesome, and they've been like invited me on like a long time ago, and like I'm just not as big a reader as they are. Honestly, like they're actually like the smart reader people of my friends. And they have a book podcast. But I was never like, hey, tell me how to podcast. I don't know. I'm always just like thinking, which art can I make? I'm always like, oh, I should make music. Oh, no. Today I should try and like work on a performance. You know, I never like filtered into a. This is much of more of a practical thing.
Yeah. Much more
Yeah.
tangible.
Tangible.
Do you think whenever like turning art into sort of like when it becomes mandatory, that it loses a certain element of that luster in some ways? Because there's certain times where I feel like that whenever, you know, whether it's like filmmaking or doing anything outside of that, sometimes it can.
You know what's cool? Like, critique was never something I like thought I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Even like, you know, I kind of started by just being like a shit talker. So having critique be the job, it's like, oh well, you know, critique was never really a passion. Even like, I didn't even know I was critiquing until people started calling me a critic. You know, so I'm not being like burnt out on something that I really loved and now have to do as a job. Like, there's a certain nice thing about not getting kind of like known for your art as an artist. Some days I'm like, oh, I wish I just like got big for my paintings. That's what I'd love. But then I'm like, well, then I would, you know, that would be my job on Instagram, is like this, you know, having the critiques be my job, I think is nice for me. I like that. And it's really, I mean, what gets tiring is that there's like a lot in a row that I'm just like, ugh. You know, it's just like not much to, you know, but yeah, no one likes to just like kind of look at art they don't like a lot. And
Yeah.
that kind of, it forces you to do that. But I was watching this thing that Alan Moore said the other day about like, you know, just, you know, reading. He was talking about reading and writing, but it was, you know, reading terrible books is much more inspiring, motivational, everything than reading good books. Because if you read good books, you start to tend to copy, and if you read bad books, you start to figure out why it sucks. You know, what sucks, and actually be able to know what sucks, put words to it for yourself, and not do it. So I am getting that from. I'm like. I don't know if it's translated into my own art yet, but
Yeah.
definitely like just looking at a lot of stuff and being like, this is why I don't like this, and putting it into words is a very like specific and interesting way to learn about what you want to do, or what you like to do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. The idea of like almost defining yourself, not in a positive way. And when I'm saying positive, I mean
Yeah.
there's an idea of like by the negative, by knowing what you just don't want to be, you can then define yourself, which can sometimes in a way be more helpful.
Yeah. I think my mind tends toward like to what is it, deduction, right? You take away things that are obviously not right
Yeah.
first.
I guess
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to ask you about, it's been a while since the documentary came out, and that was also like kind of that was like an intimate documentary. You shared like so much. I guess what are your thoughts on kind of like the general reaction? Because I thought there was a lot of positive reaction to it.
Yeah.
And then there's also like the gambit of knuckle dragging stupid comments that were also there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The knuckle dragging comments do, like, I listen to them, so they hurt, but also, like, I do walk a weird line with, like, oversharing, or just, like, I'm also kind of dramatic. So sometimes I feel like, misunderstood, but that's kind of like just a normal feeling for me. There's things in it that I feel like I just could be taken in all kinds of ways, and I'm talking about such serious and like just personal things that it can be like really embarrassing and hard to like think about. Oh, someone could think I meant that about, and that it just means, and if they think that means a lot about what they think about who I am. I think, and yeah, just like, it's uncomfortable to be that open and vulnerable, but yeah, like that's my way of communicating. So,
And I think there was a lot of positive. I mean, I think a lot of people,
yeah,
I think a lot of people probably resonate with that, with especially your feeling before you started the account of, kind of feeling suffocated. I've been thinking about this for a while, just how like when you look at the lives of artists and like creative people in decades before where we're at now, there was a certain level of freedom that they had, or at least like you didn't have to completely dedicate yourself to some soul-sucking job in a way that like totally robbed you of any creative agency. Like I was on the plane the other day and I was watching this like Richard Brodigan, Jimmy Buffett documentary where all these guys were just like jerk-off writers and artists, and they were living on the beach. And it's like, dude, there's no way that anyone in America could ever live that lifestyle anymore.
Environment. I mean,
Yeah. Well, it's just like the economy is like so flipped upside down,
yeah.
and in
that
my
beach
opinion,
probably has high rises on it now that they were strolling on. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like back in the day, you could just be a working person, live on a beach and be a writer or something, and work as a fisherman or something, and like you could make everything work. Now it's like you have to be 8 layers into some Andrew Tate style scam to like be somewhat comfortable, and then even then you're like still stretched thin. I don't know.
A job used to like mean something.
Yeah.
Used to mean that you used to get something in return for your labor other than mere survival.
Yeah.
But it's just the balance has shifted just enough to where all of a sudden, a job it's indentured servitude. We just, how close do we want to get to indentured servitude, where you either have a job or you don't survive. You either have 2 jobs or you don't survive. Or at this point, it's like you have to have a certain job, or else you are beneath like being able to afford to enjoy anything in life.
Yeah, I think
it's not worth it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. It's like back in the day, you could have a regular job. Now it's what even is the boundary of it? You have to be like a vice president of a financial firm to live somewhat comfortably. I mean, what is the threshold now? The threshold is absurd to even just have health insurance and not be fucking stressed out all the time, or like, you know, yeah, I don't know. And then also, I think that's another sign. I think I've been thinking about this. The prerequisite to have a good culture, or to have culture in general, is the ability to have leisure, and like the ability for a normal person to have leisure at the end of the day. And when they're constantly inundated with like nonstop bullshit from life, their job, and what have you, then culture ends up suffering, because they don't have the time to create anything in a way. And I don't know. I think that maybe in some ways that plays into like the malaise of somewhat like what we're seeing culturally, or at least that's just my opinion. I don't know. I'm just throwing. Yeah, I'm just kind of like thinking out loud.
I like the idea, like what you said, like suffocating. Like it's like you know, it seems to have an intent. The capitalist or whatever. I don't know if I. You can't be boiled down to capitalism. That's all I know. But like,
yeah, I think
this make an amount of money or you suck thing that our society just seems to have built into it, whether it's capital, whatever it comes from. Well, yeah, I lost my thought.
No, you're good.
So we were talking. I remember you said like artists are being suffocated, or well, you said malaise, but before that I said suffocated. I just thought about that. You know, we always feel like, okay, so the money thing is kind of an enemy to the artist, but why? And you can kind of see how, yeah, like what you were saying, this ambience of needing more of it, because most of society, most jobs, most, you know, things that give you money are kind of structural in some way, where being an artist is not. And so the structure that is being really fortified, you are left out of as an artist mostly. I mean, there are grants. It's sort of like you have to be very perpetual. Like you have to go after the things that like having a substantial, like a paycheck that goes automatically, having health insurance, all these things that normal jobs give you that can kind of withstand the inflation because they are part of the growing structure. Artists are especially, it just gets harder, period, for us, because just our little place that we need to make our art goes up, so we need more. You just need to spend more of our time, more of our resources, and less on the art. And I think that's where it becomes into conflict with why is this idea of money or making it, or why is the structure so anti always for an artist? And it's kind of just because our job isn't recognized by.
And I think one other thing is when the system at large gets super desperate, and I mean just lower and middle class people feel like they are not making things, they don't feel upwardly mobile anymore. They start looking to other avenues to try to just escape it in this very what would you say, desperate way. And so I think there's certain economic indicators of this. One example would be cryptocurrency. The reason why cryptocurrency is all over the place is because it's treated like a casino. You have people that buy it and they're betting on it like it's roulette.
And just I've got 20 extra bucks today. I'll just pop it
Yeah,
in
I
there.
have $1,000 in my savings. Like, let me just like gamble this away, and then the hope is that it goes 100x, and you're
Right.
able to like leave your suffocating normie job to like
Okay,
do
yeah, I see
something
where
more to do something more substantial. And in the same way, and this is something I talked about on a previous one, is art and culture are now treated in that same way that cryptocurrency is, which is like everyone, it feels like everyone is throwing their hat in the ring in the hopes that they hit the lottery and they can just like leave that
Yeah.
demeaning sort of existence to be an influencer, to be an artist, to be a fashion person. And so there's like this extreme cutthroat sort of ecosystem now, whereas I'm not sure if that actually existed before all of this
Yeah.
all of this pressure in the in the United States, because I can only speak for my experience here, people feeling downwardly mobile. And so I think that also plays into a big part of it. But
The number of artists.
yeah, it's just every
kind of coming out
and
of
maybe
the
it's
woodwork.
even people that don't even necessarily have the like
I
if
think
other
it's the- I think
if
it's- they're coming from the hollowing out of the middle class. When
yeah.
they're the debris falling out of the TNT happening inside the middle.
Yeah,
class.
like if their
I'm not
normie
gonna-
if their normie job was able to sustain them, would they even be throwing their hat in that way? If it was
I'm sure
if it
there-
was
I'm
meeting
sure there are
all
people
of
that you're correct about that. Yeah.
like that's one thing that I think about is like it in some ways it's like this signal in the same way cryptocurrency is of like this underlying desperation for people to just like escape this hellishness, which is understandable. It's not a slight against them, but it's like it also describes why you're like, why is this person even an artist? I don't even think they really like it that much, or any one of those like subgenres of creativity. It's like, do you
It's
even
so
really like
hard.
this?
Oh god,
Yeah.
it's so hard because so many of those people end up being artists that we love. I don't know, you know what I mean? And like the cryptocurrency thing, I think it is interesting now that it's at there because we've seen it crash and then rise like substantially a couple times.
Yeah.
Before that, it was sort of like, is it gonna peak? Bitcoin anyway. It's like, where can it peak? And it did, and it was crazy. But I think there's more to the beginnings of cryptocurrency than a gambling. I think there was a bravery in it beyond just like, let's gamble our money away. I think there were ideals there. I've listened to a lot of crypto people, obviously. But yeah, what it is probably mainly now is it's like it's just the highest risk place to put your money. So it's for people that want to gamble, right? Like it's a little gambling thing you can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same thing in the stock market. I mean, the reason why asset prices are just like totally out the wazoo is people don't feel confident in their ability to make money like through a wage, and so they're like, how can I try to 10x my money? Let me put it into asset prices. Let me put it into like some alternative asset prices like cryptocurrency. Now, I mean, I'm speculating here, and I'm not an expert on this, and so people are probably going to grill me on this. Let's get to some of the first questions. I don't know if you have the email open. We can go to. Well, first we have our friend of the show, DC. He just is giving us some love. Everybody go check out 8 Plates. Yeah, go check out 8 Plates podcast. He's a friend of mine. He's very nice. He's just giving us some love. Okay. We have somebody by the name of AYTCH. I don't know how to say that.
YTCH.
Okay, long-time listener, first-time caller. Thank you for being a long-time listener.
Good one.
His first question is, are there any exceptions to Taylor's rule that artists shouldn't be using black outlines in paintings? I'm far too intimidated to ever submit to the dungeon, but I do like to include elements of Jack Kirby and cel-shaded game animations into my work. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I love cel-shaded work. Arshil Gorky is a painter that I've talked about a number of times, who a lot of his imagery is just a black line and outlines some things in black. Like a lot of things in art, it really depends on the work of art and all the specifics of the other stuff going on around the black outlines. I think what it is with often what I see and what, like, people on Instagram, just art around, when a black outline is used, it's either left over from the initial drawing of the painting, or it is these edges don't work, so here's a line picking out which edge I want. It's like, so it's a graphic move instead of a paint, instead of a, there's a reason this is black here move. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of times so I just actually posted one on my story that's like all black, it's all black lines. There's nothing wrong with a black line in painting. But just think about why you're using, am I using it because I have no other, could this be any other color? What is it about this edge that I'm trying to define? Why do I need to leave this underlying drawing here? Is there a way to move out of, does it have, maybe it has to be black and you find that out eventually. I don't know, but a lot of times just feels unconsidered, the black outline. And it's an easy thing to point out in a lot of work, so I do. And there's a number of things like that in painting that to be pointed out, but that is something that I pick out. It's a very easy first year kind of art student thing. It's something you can forget once you've been making art for 30 years. You know what I mean? But I think for people that are, anyway, I can go on and on about painting. If you ask me questions, ask me another question.
Yeah, well, I think just I know it was the question, the person asking the question was asking it to you, but I'm going to chime in and give you my 2 cents.
This is our podcast.
You're asking.
Actually, this is you know how to do it all. I'm just talking on your podcast.
He's asking us. No, I think you're right. I think it's kind of a crutch, and it's always kind of it's a symbol of kind of the first thing you go to when you start, and so that it automatically calls into question what you're really trying to achieve, and then it's also immediately associated with things like graphic design, which are inherently aesthetic and can sometimes be in conflict with, effective art in a way.
It's and there's nothing wrong with the graphic design use of it. And it's sometimes that graphic design element gets placed in your head when the art is not functioning in the way that thing is functioning. Do you know what I mean? In the cel shaded work, like the example, those black lines really make the 3-dimensional thing happen for the animation, for the the black lines aren't in question because the image doesn't work without them. You can sense that, but if you get a little bit of a cel shading inside of another landscape or something, and then it's this landscape has nothing to do with cel shading. They didn't want me to think about cel shading, but I am. That's when the black lines are an issue. It's you didn't want that, but it's happening because of the black lines. Anyway.
Yeah, and another 2 examples, I was just looking at the Ed Rche book. I think he even has Jack Kirby stuff nested inside some of his or some of his works. And it works really well there, but it's if you're going to be going down that route, you're going to have to be doing something novel, and then you're also going to have to be increasing the experience for the viewer whenever you're doing it. And you have to be cognizant of that. And you can't just be doing it from a purely aesthetic standpoint. Otherwise, it's probably going to be a little bit of a failure. But all right, we can move on to the next question. So he asks another question, which I think is a good one. What is more likely to damage Basquiat's long-term legacy? Shitty Instagram artist ripoffs, or his estate turning everything into merchandise?
Ooh. Damage his long-term legacy.
Yeah, I kind of call into question that premise
I
to
don't
begin
know
with.
if his long-term legacy is going to be damaged. I think, well, so the merch thing, Monet has merch.
Yeah, that's true.
And we're not liking the lilies less. I think, well, I mean, the Basquiat ripoffs again are also just, any copy is a compliment, right? Like there are so many of them because it is so intriguing to his art. It's so, I mean, it's powerful, raw, powerful, and that's like something that's something a lot of people are after right now, which makes sense, and just speaks to right now his legacy is stronger than it's ever been because of those things. I think he's very strong in the minds of artists. I think legacy, what happens is like if things start getting attributed to him that he didn't do, or stuff like that, but it's pretty well known what he did, and it's like an asteroid hitting, the impact, sometimes like the worst part of the asteroid is not the impact, the most powerful part of the asteroid is not the impact, and there's waves. We're going through a Basquiat wave, the wave of his impact.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I think, I can tell, I don't know, I can only infer from that question that this person is probably young, because that sounds like such a... Young people tend to think when a certain artist or a certain creative person, whether it's a writer or a musician, that like their influence gets so popular to the point where corny people kind of use it as a social indicator of their taste.
Right.
And they feel this natural aversion to that artist or musician or what have you, because they don't want to be associated with whatever that is. And they think that this is the first time to ever happen. They think that this is going to like implode their legacy forever.
Right.
But in reality, if you're old enough, you've seen this happen like 3 times. That person will become super popular with whoever it is, normies, whatever, and then it kind of wanes. And then, but the through line there is this consistency with, what they're grappling with, what they've accomplished. There's something consistent there. And I don't know. I think, I don't know. I don't think that any of that's going to damage it. I think in the long term, quality is always going to win out. And short term, and also this is something that younger people need to realize, like stop thinking about art as this sort of like intellectual accessory and as an aesthetic accessory. If you're thinking about Basquiat in terms of like the trendiness of his, his painting style and everything, then you're just going to be approaching art in the wrong way to begin with. And that's something that me and you have talked about a lot. Yeah. You need to get over that. If anything, you should be able, you will really know if, one, you truly like him as an artist, if you're able to like weather all of that stuff that we're talking about and still like him. That's the thing that you need to be focused on, not these cycles and thinking about it in this, in this, I don't like the word shallow,
but the intellectual accessory, I think you're right. Like it's, when I come across people that maybe I feel like to make a good artist, to do what people are into right now, or the cool art thing. But even beyond that, I think there's people that can benefit from hearing like, okay, so imagine, so you think Basquiat is really awesome, and everything he stands for, everything he did was just like what you want to do. Imagine you're Basquiat and you're looking back on Basquiat. Basquiat isn't gonna copy Basquiat. Basquiat isn't going to do Basquiat again, even. Like, get into the mode of how he was working, how he approached things, not the way his things looked, right? Like this accessory thing. He was radical, and a radical would not look in the past for someone to emulate. That a very simple idea, sort of like.
Or even if they are looking in the past, it's not. It's from a perspective of like, I'm trying to get reinvigorated by whatever this thing that I'm looking at. It's not.
True.
It's not becoming this sort of fashion item that you think is going to elevate you in terms of status by using it to signal. That's maybe the biggest thing, is like, I can always tell when somebody's signaling, and that's the danger point. And that's what I'm getting from that question in some sense, is like, yeah, the buy signal on this is looking bad because it's like reaching max corniness, but it's like, that's the wrong way to approach it. But let's get to his third question. I think it's another interesting one. Should auctions have to pay a set percentage to artists or their estate when collectors buy low and sell high?
I'm not really too sure about all the intricacies about every auction. I think probably some auctions do something like that, or, more ethical. I'm not sure though. Maybe none of them do. I don't think they're legally required to. It's a second-hand sale, right? Technically a second-hand piece of merchandise being sold, and I guess like when you reprint Lord of the Rings, the Tolkien estate gets some money. That's all. The money stuff is so tricky for me. I don't know if they. It'd be awesome. It'd be awesome if they did.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know if they should. I don't know if they. I don't know how it works enough.
I think just art is from. I think it's more of a parochial. It's an art. Ironically enough, it's a way of selling a creative endeavor that is kind of behind everything else. It's behind music in terms of giving royalties. It's behind filmmaking in terms of copyright. It's behind a lot of other stuff. And it's one thing that has like never really caught up because it's kind of strange in that way. And there's a weird middle ground. I think one major problem is it doesn't scale super well.
It's one object.
Yeah, it's one object and it doesn't scale super well because a lot of times what happens is you buy it when the person is virtually unknown and then they become very well known and you're making a huge margin on that. And there's no way to really nest that into the sale to begin with.
Like there needs to be a pretty put together estate for that artist. I mean, these huge artists, obviously Picasso's.
There's no incentive for them to do it because you're so small. It would just be a pain in the ass to even write up a contract and to even care about something like that. I don't know. I think
the bigger ones. I think I do know that a lot of just that money passing around is a lot like the stock market. It's not. The estate is in bed. The Picasso estate is in bed with Sotheby's, is in bed with. They're all. It's an economy that they're all part of at that very top end. I think. Yeah,
it's becoming some sort of alternative asset.
Yeah.
Whereby I think there's probably stuff that's already working in that direction. Like now, I think it has to be. But I have heard of tons of even mid-level artists going to big auctions and getting totally screwed out. There's deals that are made on behalf of the gallery that are like, we'll get it to you for this price. And they know that it's going to end up selling an auction later on for 3 times as much,
Really? Yeah.
I don't know that because I'm not in that world. So I don't know. I
don't want to just hear about artists getting ripped off all day. Cause I know that's what I'll hear if I listen to about the deals that go on with their art. So
I guess we support it. We're not in that world. So that's our uninformed opinion.
I wish auction galleries could give as much money as they can to the beneficiaries of the artist's life, I guess.
Agreed.
Whatever.
Okay, this is another sort of investment. We're getting a lot of investment related.
Oh, good. Yeah, right up my alley.
yeah. Okay, we got hi Jeff Koons, Cy Twombly, Damien Hirst. Thoughts on these artists / contemporary art as an investment. Best of luck with the podcast. Best of luck with the podcast, Cathal. Thank you, Cathal, for the question.
Cathal, like Cthulhu? No. Cy Twombly, Jeff Koons, Damien Hirst. What was the other one?
That was it. Those are the three.
The three. As investments?
Yeah.
I think Cy Twombly is a good one. Cy Twombly, Jeff Koons, and Damien Hirst. If you can get an early Damien Hirst. Yeah, I mean, I guess with Damien Hirst and Jeff Koons, it's a little weird because it's like, are people just going to hate them out of existence or not?
Yeah, because that's
going to get hated out of existence. Can that happen to artists? 'Cause
that's true. Like so much. I mean, that's the thing that no one talks about is like, it's not like gold or silver where it's, you know, it's tied to some sort of, well, it is scarce, but the thing that is driving its value is mimetic. You know, it's this sort of popularity around, because there's a lot of great older artists that are not contemporary that actually don't drive huge numbers at auctions compared to certain more trendy contemporary artists. And so it's like it's mimetic in that way, and so it's less reliable in some sense, but then in another way, like all sort of rich people assets are just, they're all inflationary. There's a reason why the stock market is going up so much. There's a reason why houses go up so much. It's because the economy is being hollowed out, and those things inherently become more expensive as a result. And so it's like, I don't know, you probably will make a ton of money if you invest in that. It also...
You mean in a Koons or a Damien Hirst?
Yeah, probably. I mean...
I don't see... I was just thinking, like, what you were saying, like even getting hated... They can't... I think for especially just like a visual artist, hate is just good. Attention is just good because we have a reputation of being the jerk offs. Like I think a lot of people felt that way about Dadaists, and it can be it's definitely just half cool to be a total despicable person as an artist. We get away with that a little more than other things.
That's so true.
And it's probably a lot to do with Jeff Koons's. I think he leans into that. And
yeah, Jeff Koons is like he's like your boss if you worked at like a yogurt shop. That's like how he presents himself.
Hits on you, touches you.
Yeah,
stuff.
Anyways. All right. We got
get aside Twombly. That's what I'm going to say. As in terms, like maybe not monetary, maybe like definitely monetary. I think long term, like long term, Cy Twombly, but also just for your own self, having a Cy Twombly.
Yeah, just get it for yourself. Just enrich your own life with a piece of art. Your life, the investment is your life. That's what you should be buying art for, is to enrich yourself. Why are we talking about the bottom line here? Come on, folks. Okay, so we got Amy Webb. Hi there, excited for the podcast. What are your best and worst encounters with certain galleries, collectors, or just quote unquote art world people? That's a huge, mostly financial gap for many working class artists, preventing access to the greater art world that I think stifles a lot of fresh perspectives. I'm especially interested in hearing about how people you've encountered seem to treat the issue. Best wishes, Amy. Thank you, Amy.
The issue of,
I guess, just
having hard time.
Yeah, I guess just
the gallery, basically. Or?
Maybe just general interactions with quote unquote art world people, gallerists. What have you ever?
I had like bad one maybe a few summers ago up here. Just with getting the writing correctly. You know, I had all the paintings. They had asked me to do a show, like at this gallery. It's like my first solo show. I haven't had a solo show yet, but this is gonna be it. And you know, my writing on it, she just couldn't get down with it ever, and didn't want to do the show because I couldn't thematicalize it enough. I couldn't turn it into a show, you know, like a documentary, or what is it about? I couldn't break it, but that's just up here, you know what I mean? Like, and that's happened to me. That was like the worst example where it was really just like on this poignant example of like, are my thoughts just too dumb for this? Like, or am I too, like, it's like, what am I doing wrong? Where I can't even get the show that this person wants to give me anyway.
Yeah, I think that also just speaks to the current environment of art making. It's like, why is the artist required to even talk about the art in that way, and like
so weird.
Try to articulate yourself in that way, like you're doing an elevator pitch on Shark Tank.
And it's just like, and I got the pitch wrong, so the product doesn't work.
Yeah, it's what? Like she's Mark Cuban and she's telling you to fuck off. Like, why is that even a part of the whole experience?
Yeah, like, God
it's like the whole process is a sort of intuition that you're sort of roughly in tune with. It's subconscious on some level. Pardon me if I'm unable to write this super articulate. If anything, I'm skeptical. That's the number one thing that makes me skeptical, is when I see somebody that's too articulate about what they're making. I'm like, this person is full of shit. They're thinking about it way too much.
Yeah, I fucking run into, I mean, like, I'm on that end of the artist spectrum of just thinking about everything way too much, articulating it too much everywhere.
No, but you're not thinking about it in that, you're not thinking about it like an essay when you were creating it. You were you were thinking about how to solve it from an experiential perspective, but you're not thinking about, like, am I fitting the certain requirements of this? Am I referencing Derrida, or am I referencing this? Right. And then I'm making
footnotes correct.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, we're getting way too intellectual with this endeavor here. I don't know. That's interesting that happened to you.
What about you? Like with like documentaries, like I'm sure you have to like actually work with people.
Yeah, I have. I hate to say it, but out of the different subgenres of creative people that I've interacted with, whether it's like musicians or directors or what have you, the art world people, specifically gallerists and stuff like that, not all of them, but a lot of them tend to be kind of the worst of the bunch, because they're the most exclusionary and they're the most sort of ironic. What's funny is, like, out of all the endeavors, art purports itself to be the most politically forward, and it's the one that's the most exclusionary. I mean, when you go to a really big art show, do you feel like your average everyday person feels welcome there?
No,
they do not.
It feels like the fanciest designer clothing
store.
They
don't.
In the whole
and if you were to walk,
one feels okay going in.
Yeah, exactly. And if you were to walk in unfashionable and you didn't understand all of the pretext to whatever you were viewing, you would feel immediately out of place. The gallerist wouldn't want to talk to you. They wouldn't take you seriously. And look, that's
crazy.
Not
that is like your overall experience. I just like try to believe that's not true, but it does. I hear it. Yeah. I
mean, I've just gone to so many shows, and it's like, that's the I know that world, and I still get that feeling. And I know artists who are, I've had friends who are at their own galleries who are saying, I feel uncomfortable here and I'm showing here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the level of the divide between clientele, the people owning it, and then the artists. Like, there is it's a very strict hierarchy, and it's always being defined. And it's like, hey, I just hate to say it, I'm not one that hates. Like, I love the world, I love artists, and I love, I want the best, and I'm very positive, or I'm optimistic in that sense. But That's the honest to God truth. That's how I feel. And I think that in some ways, the reason why that is the case is because art has now transitioned into a thing that is, again, like we were talking about, it's a luxury item for the rich. And so it's innately tethered to this element of class. Whereas other things like music, you know, a musician is at a show, but it's going to be a lot of people like us that are going there to watch it. And so they have to be able to interact with people like us who may not be as, you know, privy or sophisticated to whatever is going on. And they're able to kind of communicate in this amicable way. Whereas when it's so tethered to something that is, you know, rich and class-based, it's more apparent. And I don't know, that's just my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think art, I was just thinking, like, visual artists want those rich people to buy their art. That's who they want in their gallery. That's where their show is. And it's who they feel most uncomfortable around. It's weird. I also made me think of when I lived in New Orleans, there was a bar where, like, the poorest people and the richest people all went, and that was sort of like a normal thing. It wasn't on Bourbon Street, it was like in the Marigny, but like that was the first place where I was like, oh, class mingling, and realizing how fucking rare it is for, like, the classes to mingle civilly and to like allow each other in the same space. And I was thinking, like an art. Why are art galleries not like this? This should be like the normal feeling at an art gallery. Like here, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, a bar's great because you're drunk and it's easier to do everything. But like, I just remember thinking that, like, here, there's like, I know that person like owns this company. I was like a bike messenger, and so it's like I know this person's like at the top floor there, and this person lives on the street. And they're just like basically hanging out at the same place. You know what I mean? I don't know. That was so, like, there's so much of this like class warfare idea going on too, but also like there's no spaces where the classes cannot be at war with each other. You know what I mean? It'd be cool if art galleries were a place like that. I don't know how to do it, but
yeah, it's like, when's the last time you met an artist that would tell a rich person to just fuck off? Like if they wanted to buy their stuff, like that's kind of a telling symbol of what we're talking about. And then also, I think in the last, I mean, I don't know, it's arguable. Maybe it's always been like this, but it feels like in the last, when you read about it in the last couple of decades, like art went from something that was like an element of like public enjoyment. So it was tethered to the ability to resonate with the public. And it turned into something that, in fact, signaled its separation from the public. It was a way of saying, well, I have this insider knowledge about what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing, and I am in this secret club that excludes you from experiencing this, and this is a way of kind of differentiating myself from everything. And so that's the feeling I think most people get when they go into a highbrow gallery is, well, you're not privy to all this.
I'm not going to get it, basically.
Exactly. And so it's become a sort of a social signal in that way that's meant to push people away. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it used to be that before. In fact, it used to be the opposite. It used to.
Yeah, I think like, right. With the abstract expression, you hear the stories of like people going into the gallery and just being, what the fuck? And like wanting their money, you know, just being like, this isn't art, you know, like, we don't have that trust in our own senses anymore.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, that's a lot of like what I really like about like the dungeon. Like one of the coolest things I'm like noticing about it is like, people are like, oh, this is how you just like, you know, people learning how to like be confident in their own view of things, or their own taste or whatever, in some sense, like not enforcing it as law, but also like hearing what your senses tell you and expressing it. I think I think that's been gone. Like, oh, I'm not going to get it. It's not about getting it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
experience the art. The art is for you. It's in wherever space that you're allowed to go because they wanted you to go, and it's for you, whoever you are, and it's up to your senses to get what they can from it, and then describe it. And if it's nothing, it's nothing. If it's something, it's something. Like, there is art. Yeah, like art is not. Art is the thing that reaches down and tries to,
Lift you up.
lift you up.
Yeah, it's transcendent. That's the
yeah.
whole point. It's not meant to be this.
It's not meant to be the high branches that
Yeah.
you can't reach.
I'm not doing a fucking Sudoku puzzle. It's supposed to be something that's immediate and that I can react to and that reaches me. There was. Yeah, I'll end on this. I know that we've been going for a while, but there was this. Like other. He's like an art critic. I can't remember what he does, but he's some guy in New York, and he was talking about how he was with some people that he was friends with that were in New York City, and they were going into museums and they were trying to solve the different paintings, and he was talking. Solve that, because that's kind of how a lot of people are taught about art, is that you have to solve it, that there is so and so, this is symbolic for this, and this they're thinking about it in this very abstract way, as opposed to just showing up to the painting and allowing it to just like immerse them. And he was like, he was kind of chastising them, and my point was, the only reason why they're fucking doing that is because they've been taught to do that. The whole way that you're introduced to art from grade school onwards is that's how you're supposed to do it. Right. And the reality is
a certain set of art that can like a lot of surrealism and a lot of, just like a lot of old painting, like the symbols can be added up and turned into an answer about what the painting means. A lot of the time. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes the artist is just fucking with you, doesn't mean that, or you know what I mean? But you can do it with their paintings, and I can see how that could be art. But the problem with that is that there's just a whole other 50% of art that does not work at all for.
Yeah. And I think also when those ones that are very symbolically heavy, there's a lot of symbolism that's heavy. They're intuitive symbols. They're things that you can show up and maybe you don't know the full story, but you're still able to discern a really meaningful interaction with the piece. And then it just becomes fun after that. You're like, there's an eye here, and there's all sorts of things that you can kind of connect later on. But you don't need to feel ostracized just because you're not coming in with that. Right. Like that's something that can just enhance the experience later on.
Yeah. Like people think I'm like I have art history knowledge. There are so many paintings, even in the dungeon, that I see where I'm like, I don't know any of these symbols. I don't know what they mean, like at all. It's totally fine. There's so many symbols and people have so many ideas. And like that kind of art where it's here's my ideas and here's all my symbols. Like I've said before, it's not going to be easy to get. And a lot of times the point is that it should, like, they don't want it to be easy to get, but then no one gets it.
Yeah. No. Well, Taylor, I think this was a good first episode. I think
that was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. This was. Yeah, absolutely.
I like the questions. I think like we can do really good with like questions.
Yeah, people are. The audience is very. They're asking thoughtful things that bring up good conversation. So next round, we'll get them to ask some more questions. That was fun.
Do some questions, and I do want to maybe have like someone else on at some point. That'd be fun too.
Yeah, let's get you up to New York, and we can.
Cool.
We can. Like, dude, I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of Manhattan. Like, we can get somebody up here and like just set it up. It'd be fun.
That reminds me, the Ugly Painting Show at Godspeed Arts on May 30th.
Ooh.
In Bushwick, I believe it is. Bushwick, New York, Brooklyn.
Okay.
I'm going to probably be there. It's like an ugly painting show.
Hell yeah.
Ugly painting competition. I may have a painting and I may not, but I think I'm definitely going to try and be there because Oz and Ruby B are two people that two friends of mine that like Oz owns that building, and anyway, so yeah, New York.
Yes, it would be good to finally see you. We've been trying to get it figured out, but it'll be
I mean,
soon.
yeah, my life is just there's been things up in the air.
Yeah,
Trying to figure
no,
out.
totally understandable. But all right, brother.
Peace.
We'll keep in touch, and yeah, good first episode. All right, later.